So hello everyone and welcome to tonight's online workshop. My name is Karina, the founder of Share Your Story, a small online community of primarily language teachers. There are some poets and other writers in there as well who read, write and think creatively in order to share their stories with confidence. So talking of confidence, I wanted to bring to you today a flexible model for creative writing. And in doing so, in preparing for this, I set myself some big questions to answer. What were those questions, you might be asking? Let me share my screen with you. Here we go. So, oops. In promoting this workshop, I set up some big questions. I have a tendency to think big, but I'll do my best to discuss them with you and to answer them in a simple and clear way. So what are we going to talk about and what are we going to do today? We're going to think about structure within creativity. Is there structure and form within creativity? And how does that apply to creative writing? What are structure strips and for creative writing? And finally, what kind of stories are in demand in ELT today? So where do we begin? We're going to start with the first question, structure within creativity. And let me see if I make this a bit bigger. Yeah. And is there structure and form within creativity? So let me put the question to you. When you think about being creative or when you think about creativity, what does that mean to you? You're welcome to unmic and speak. You're welcome to type in the chat. I'll give you some time. I see everyone has said hello in the chat, so thank you very much. Any ideas? What is creativity? Okay, so we have a comment. Perhaps it should be structured when you start writing creatively. Absolutely, absolutely. That is the thesis that I am proposing today. We have another comment. Creativity is tapping on your inner power. Okay, I like that. When you say inner power, what do you mean? Okay. Oops, let me stop share. Oops, let's go back. I wanted to stop sharing for a moment to double check whether anybody had arrived, but unfortunately they haven't. Back to sharing screen. Okay. So when I think about creativity, I think about different definitions that I've come across recently. The first being from the education expert and TED talker, Ken Robinson. Maybe you've heard of him. I think he's recently passed away, but he is well known, or he was really well known for talking about creativity innovation in schools, the importance of creativity, and how to get creativity back into our lives. So, according to Ken, creativity is the process of having original ideas that have value. Hold on one moment. Powers ideas potential. It is who you are. I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Creativity is power, ideas, potential. The second definition that I'm bringing to you is from the author of Developing Creative Thinking Skills. He says that it is to develop something new and unique to the world, or for the world, that is workable and applicable in your context. So when he talks about creativity, he's talking about something that can be nurtured and developed over time. Lastly, I've come across a rather unusual source for a definition of creativity, which is LinkedIn. It's a social network for professionals. And LinkedIn, they have rated creativity as one of the top 5 skills, one of the top 5 soft skills for professionals. And they define it as connecting dots that are seemingly unrelated to generate useful solutions. So what stands out for me in these 3 definitions is original, new, and connecting dots. So it's the idea of coming up with something that you haven't come up with before. And this connecting dots, for me, it's connecting something new, perhaps with something old, or old with something new. For example, if I read something in the newspaper, this happens to me a lot, reading something in the newspaper, and it sparks something, and I remember or recall some other information that's connected to it. And by making that connection, it kind of sparks a new idea. I don't know if that's happened to you. And the second part of this definition is about value, being applicable in your context and a useful solution. So within creativity, there needs to be a use for what you're coming up with. It has to be applied. There has to be a need for application in order to render the idea fully realized. So here, within the definition of creativity, we come across a structure, novel ideas or solutions that are useful and applicable in a specific context. And the context that we're thinking about today is creative writing. And creative writing itself can take many forms, poems, novels, playwriting, screenwriting. But in this case, we want to think about it in the terms of short stories and the structure of short stories. Oops. So how are stories structured? When you think about a story, what are the key elements that come to mind with a story? You're welcome to unmute yourself and give me your ideas, or type your ideas in the chat. What are the key elements that come to mind when you think about a story? We have someone new joining. Welcome. Hi. We're just thinking about how stories are structured. What ingredients are there in a typical story? I'm sure you have some ideas. I've got some here. Oh, I didn't see them in the plot, in the chat. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got beginning, middle, end. I love this. Characters, plot, setting. I'm going to write down these ideas. Characters, plot, setting. Good. What else do we have? We've got problem, solution, description. Okay, climax. Brilliant. Intro with the plot of the story, the presentation of the context, the development of it, and the resolution. Point of view. Okay. Okay, wow. I didn't realize you guys were typing in the chat, so thank you so much. Narration, suspense. Oh, yes. Hook. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, all of these. Let me share with you my ideas. I just put a few down, and they correlate with the suggestions that you make. Hook, something really intriguing to bring the kind of raise the awareness of the reader to the exciting story. Character, the person, the key person that we are going to follow on their journey. The plot, which kind of outlines that journey that they're going to go on. Any dialogue, maybe there's more than one character and they talk to each other and discuss things. I've also picked out setting. I think someone also mentioned that. Where it is, where this is happening, outside, inside, in the countryside, in the city, and what that looks like. So all of these ideas are valid. And when we think about writing stories and writing a story for the first time or the first draft, maybe we cannot consider all of these. Maybe we can only, pick one or two just to begin, or a few just to begin, so not to be too overwhelmed. So let me propose an idea for starting your first draft. Structure strips. Not very easy to say. Don't try to say this quickly. Structure strips. And this is a model that came out some time ago. It was very popular on Twitter among teachers. And it's something that I think we can adopt and adapt to, structure our own text that we're going to write today and now. And it was originally designed for this strip to be, stuck into an exercise book. So if you're a teacher, you can stick it in the exercise book of your students, and they can easily follow the prompt or the instruction that is there. So it's divided up into sections or strips that act as a guide for the content, the order of the story, and possibly the amount of writing in each paragraph. So yeah, my idea is to use these structure strips as a foundation for our story. Now is the time for me to stop talking. I've been talking a lot. And hand over to you. Here is my idea. So what I'd like to do is to put you into, there are 6 participants. So maybe we're going to be in groups of 2 or groups of 3, either pairs or if I join, we can make pairs. I want you to first introduce yourself. Take some time to meet your partner or your small group mates. Introduce yourself. Then I'm going to give you some prompts. I want you to talk about these prompts. Maybe there's one that you like. It gives you some ideas. Discuss with your partner or partners. This is about idea generation. Finally, choose one of these prompts, or if you really want to write about something else, you're free to do that. But choose one and follow this basic story structure. So hopefully you have a pen and paper to hand. I'd like you to write down this structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So introduction, build up, problem, resolution, ending. Write that down on your notepad and have a look at these prompts. These are some ideas to get the creative juices flowing. Maybe there's a traditional tale or traditional folk story that you want to write in your own way, add a new twist. Maybe you heard an interesting conversation earlier. You could talk about a holiday, a happy time. These are just some ideas to get you started with your writing. I'm going to stop sharing just for a second. I think someone joined. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we are now, well, we are still 6 people in total. I'm going to put us into groups, random pairs, so that we can carry out this activity. 5 minutes getting to know you, 5 minutes discussion of prompts, and 5 minutes for writing and filling out that basic story structure. Of course, if you finish, chatting earlier, you can get started writing straight away. And I will try to put an announcement in the, send out an announcement so you know when each 5-minute block is beginning. All right, I'm going to try and do the breakout rooms. Assign automatically. 3, and let's go. I'm opening all rooms. Please join the room. Hopefully you've got a link. Okay, so I'm going to resume recording. We are just back from breakout rooms. We were in pairs. We were writing following a simple story structure just to get the basic idea down. We don't need to get into the details yet. How did it go?
Could I start?
Yeah. What do you want to share?
Agnieszka and I, we lost a little track of time when we were in the self-introduction part, and because she's a very energetic person, I really liked her. She was talking, she said she knows you, right, in person, and amazing. She recommended some things, right? We decided by the topic of conversation, an interesting conversation you heard, and we started talking about that. Okay, should we choose a real conversation or create? Agnieszka, could you talk something about that?
Well, actually, Yeah, the thing is, we haven't started writing, but the thing is that we started talking just about the idea of conversation. Actually, I can't think about the conversation. I'm pretty sure I had a lot of interesting conversation, but I can't actually think about the conversation I had at the moment. I don't have anything in my mind. But why we decided that it's really interesting, because our human nature is like that. We really like knowing about people's lives, listening to their stories.
Yeah.
So I thought that even if we can't remember, I'm pretty sure we travel. Well, recently we travel less because of the coronavirus. Usually when you travel on train, you hear people's stories, and they are so all different, So I thought, even if we can't come up with any conversation at the moment, and if nothing comes to our mind, we don't remember anything, we could imagine that we could actually make something up. Yeah. Absolutely. So that was the idea. Yeah.
No problem. That is just an example of actually how long it can take to generate an idea.
Yeah.
It can take some time.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't worry. We have a second activity. Hopefully you can write something then. So don't worry about that. Anyone else want to share their experience? Did you write something? That's the question now. I know that 2 people joined. They're new, so they haven't written anything. That's okay. My partner and we did write something. Maybe I'm going to share that in a minute. Anyone else? Okay, no problem. No problem. So for the people that have just joined, maybe it's going to be useful to share my screen quickly and share the structure that we were following. So let me just make this big really quick. Is that going to be big? So for you newbies, we are using this basic structure, a structure strip, simple prompts, introduction, build up, problem, resolution, ending. This is the entire story. And all you really need to do is write 1 sentence for each part to begin. And the prompts earlier were a traditional folk tale, a conversation you heard or something that you saw, a happy time or a happy day in your life, an unforgettable holiday, or indeed anything that you'd like to write about. Those were just some ideas. And I just scribbled on a piece of paper, and I'm going to try and read it out to you. So, introduction. The day of the live online workshop arrived. The build-up. Karina was very nervous as she had a PowerPoint to create and a speech to prepare. The problem. She's usually very organized, but when a deadline looms, she procrastinates and she gets stressed. What's the next bit? Resolution. She puts on some calming music, does a meditation, gets into the zone, and the ending. She gets it done, and the online workshop goes really well. So this was my simple story. I'm going to stop. Oh, maybe I'm going to keep that open. And that's just an example of a basic story structure. We've got the beginning, we've got the middle, and we've got the end. Now I want to offer, I've got some comments in the chat. Thank you. Awesome. And a thumbs up. Thank you. So now I want to offer another structure strip. This time I want to think about layering on some details and some suspense. okay, that's going to keep us really interested in the story. Here, I've got an example, and I'm going to read out each paragraph one by one, and I want you to guess what is the element, like the story element or the aspect of the story that is, or story writing, that is focused on in this little paragraph. And let's see if you can guess. All right, the first one. The grass was slick with early morning dew, and Charlotte could smell the damp soil and foliage of the nearby woods as she hurried along. Any guesses? What's that an example of? Description of setting? Or an introduction? Yeah. It's definitely part of the introduction, the first part. All right, let me click. We've got a description here to kind of to draw you in, okay? You can think about the senses. What can you see? What can you hear? This could be a nice way to begin. Okay, I'm going to read the second one. A train passing at the bottom of the field gave a sharp blast of its horn, breaking the silence, and her heart jumped. What if Jerry was on the track? What's happening there? Or what's that an example of? Could be a problem. Let me reveal. Yes, yeah, it can be a problem or a danger. Yeah, it could be a hook to build the suspense. We've got some good suggestions in the chat. Thank you very much. So this is, yeah, a way to build the suspense, talk about the problem, talk about a danger. Element of surprise, I like it, thank you. Build up, yes. Okay, third paragraph. Charlotte loved walking Jerry each morning. They had been out together every day since he had been a puppy. He was her best friend. Yeah, this is part of building up the story. Setting the context, yeah. Good ideas, let's have a look. Here we're talking about feelings, kind of connecting to the past as well in this example. This is a way for us to connect with the character. All right, fourth paragraph. Then she remembered the last time he had run off and she'd found him an hour later swimming in the nearby lake. She turned and walked faster in that direction. Resolution. Aha, yes, could be. Let's have a look. Resolution, a solution. So we had a danger, we had a problem. Now we've got to deal with that danger or overcome the problem. So here we have a solution. If the character was in trouble, how did the character get out of that trouble? And the last one, and as she neared the water, she heard a familiar bark. Running now, she rounded a bend to see the familiar sight of her black Labrador shaking himself dry. Yes, Mega. For the previous one, I think you said pre-climax. So for the last part, we've got development, we've got happy ending. Yes. All right, let's have a look. Yeah, it's just the end. A nice way to round everything up. So, similar to the first round, I'm going to put you in small groups, depending on our number. I'm going to have a look in a minute. Introduce yourselves if it's a new partner. Read your basic story structure if you've got one. Write your basic story structure if you haven't. And then add these layers of suspense. Hopefully you have a pen and paper and you're able to note down these strips, which would be description, danger, feelings, solution, and ending. Okay, thank you, Agnieszka. Have a good evening. If you need to go now, no problem. So make a note of these. As before, I'm going to give 5 minutes per section, so that's 15 minutes in total. But if you, you can manage the time as you like. Right, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to have a look at the breakout rooms. I'm going to recreate. How many people are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7. So I'm not going to be in it. I'm going to make 3 groups. So there'll be 3 pairs. I'm going to open all rooms. Please join your room and please get writing.
Mine is not exactly a fairy tale, but it's like more the environment around me right now. I mean, it's like an extempore story, kind of, not a story, but kind of events, you can say. Right now it's like it's midnight time, it's peaceful, it's quiet here, but suddenly all around the area is absolutely pin drop silence and people are asleep, and but suddenly there is a sound from down the building, which normally is not there. It's a constant like whirring sound of a car engine, and there are no cars. The road is quiet. So how come? I mean, what happened? Why is the sound? And that sound is consistently like it is becoming, the volume is becoming higher and higher. So we got a bit worried and we were unable to understand what is the situation. We couldn't see anyone on the road. So we went down our building, we called the security, and we asked the security to check out where is this whirring sound coming. Is it from our parking lot, or is it from a nearby by lane, or has someone been stuck in a car? What is the matter? So we go along with the security guard to look around the building. So we find that in the basement parking, this whirring sound constantly of engine is coming. And one of our apartment ladies is stuck in the car because the parking rod is not opening. And she's trying to find some help, and therefore she continues to put the engine on, and she didn't stop it, so that at least that noise is there. Her cell phone is switched off because it's not charged. So in order to make some sound, she continues. So that when we all reached there, 3-4 people reached there, we understood the problem, and then she was able to park her car. So that was the ending, and the solution is when we all go there and we find out the place from where this sound of the car engine was constantly coming from. So it's like more of a description than the build-up. And when we are unable to find where exactly the sound is coming, is it an accident or what? So that could be a slight layer of like a suspense. What is the matter? Where the sound is coming from? And finally, the resolution when the lady got the help in the car. That's pretty simple. I mean, which is more connected to presently where I'm sitting. It's like an extempore kind of a story. It's not related to a folktale character or something of that sort.
But it's very real. It's just
Yeah.
I can imagine
I could
because you were telling
visualize too.
you were telling guys it's midnight here. I'm
Yeah.
from Dubai, and then everything's
Yeah.
quiet. That's why I'm speaking low. And now you tell this story, I can visualize what you want to say. So
Yeah,
that's
Me too.
could be it is more like realistic environment, could be, and more real problem, you know, like anybody can get stuck in the car or in the middle of the night, and people are sleeping, and the people are looking for help, and if somebody comes up, it's just a God's grace. Like if somebody's attention is there, most of the people are sleeping now. So it's the build up, and then the resolution that somebody finally heard it, and they went down and they tried to find it out.
I really liked that you kind of used short sentences, so the way you read it was really fast paced. So I think that made the danger more tangible to me. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah, me too. I was super anxious and scared at the same time, thinking,
Exactly,
oh Lord, what is gonna happen now? I'm scared.
Like, Meg, are you okay?
It's an action-packed story in the given environment where I'm sitting.
Okay, ladies, I'm going to have to interrupt this great discussion. It sounds like ideas were exchanged, and at least one person used the details to add some suspense. Did anyone else have a chance to write?
Actually, Karen, I actually wrote in like a kind of, like a brainstorming pointers, as to that. And we just, as I was speaking, I just connected them.
Perfect. That's the way to do it. Now we're in this breakout room, so let's just exit. I'm going to close the link, hit the link. Let's go back to the main room so that we can finish up.
Karina, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Karina.
Welcome back, everyone. I know there was a lot of brainstorming going on, exchanging of ideas, and some suspense being added to at least one story in there. So I'm really glad about that. Unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes left, so I have to stop the the speaking and writing part of this so that I can answer actually the last question. If you remember, I had 3 or 4 questions on my list to discuss and answer. And let's get to the last one, talking about stories that are in demand in ELT or missing stories in ELT. I believe we're all teachers or English teachers. And so I just wanted you to think about in the materials that you use, it could be textbooks or otherwise, what kind of stories do you find there? Or are there any stories that you think are missing? Oops. You're welcome.
I think the stories in ELT are, sometimes we see some storytelling of people reporting their real lives, as I remember from books, or I think sometimes teachers might find articles on from news websites or talk about the news on TV. And maybe the folk stories are not so I don't, maybe there are, but in my bubble, in my reality, and the people that I know, I don't see as much of folk stories. And what was the other one? And I think there should be more conversation about students be able to tell their stories too.
Dalida, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And I think it's true that maybe materials that are aimed at younger ages, because they use stories, there might be like some stories from different countries, or even for readers, or maybe like comic story, a story from Africa, a story from India, a story from Asia, I don't know.
From Greece?
From Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should travel a little more, right? Yeah.
But maybe as students get older, like teenagers, we see less and less, fewer and fewer stories, less and less representation from different groups of people, maybe. And personally, I try to include some things, but I feel like it's difficult and it's really time consuming to try to find things that are not from the textbook, because you want to show something different and you want to give them ideas to talk about their own stories. I don't know. What are you all thinking?
Yeah, those are all really good points. In the chat, we've got mythological and folk tales are missing, but there are fantasy and sci-fi type stories included.
I agree. And what I do sometimes is exactly go away from the book and prepare a simple PowerPoint with key questions talking about NASA, alien life, for example, to change, to try to make the students, especially higher levels, right? For intermediate levels, a little easier. They like to talk about different topics. And I have two students, they're mothers, and they have kids who read English books for kids, right, in English. One of them studies in a bilingual school, so this is nice. And I sometimes, as a warm-up, I asked if she read something for her daughter, and I ask her to tell me the story. And maybe we go to YouTube, I look for a Dr. Seuss story, and we make a joke, have a fun moment, reading and talking about our childhood and the stories we used to read, and etc. I try to go to different topics, and maybe I encourage projects like take pictures of your kitchen and let's talk about vocabulary. Take a picture of your daughter, let's talk about it, let's bring it more life, right? This is what I'm working this week. I prepared the Jamboard the last ones, they're called In My Kitchen Project. After I presented the vocabulary, discussing, etc., I asked them to tell me stories about these objects. I'm still waiting for the pictures with the names and the stories and etc., but I'm trying to do that, right, in a simpler way. But I want to develop more that and then, because I say if you read more, you understand more the language, you understand more the world, you travel from your house easier, This is something that I started thinking about like a couple of weeks ago. I want to make it this year a little different, more critical thinking, more creative as well, right? A little more outside of the box classes. This is what I hope I have this year.
Thank you. I really like all of the ideas. I'm going to try and touch on all of them. Talita was talking about like traditional stories, especially in the context of a global world, and we're talking about global English or international English. It should incorporate, all sorts of different and traditional stories. I think Georgiana was talking about, why not from Africa stories? Why not from Asia? Indeed, why not from Greece, right? Absolutely. And Janaki was talking about being original and creating original materials, but that takes time. It's like a new skill to create and develop your own stories. Whether that's you, like using your own personal stories, and or encouraging your students to tell and share their story. I really like that. I mean, I'm thinking back to the first workshop that we did in October, Creole English. So it was connecting the Caribbean with the UK, the Caribbean with the English language. And that's really exciting for me because that kind of like includes me. I have a Caribbean background. So it's great to be able to put a bit of me into English teaching or English learning. So hopefully we've answered that question. And I wanted to share a resource because you were talking about textbooks. It's true that most of our textbooks kind of lack that diversity, lack the representation, as Georgiana was talking about. And I have come across a really interesting set of textbooks by a volunteer group of English language teachers and ELT material writers. And they've kind of recognized that, how important diversity and representation is, that certain stories aren't told. And this global team have voluntarily written some stories, written those kind of lesser heard stories, and covering a huge group of people, or representing, a really diverse group of people, touching on women's stories, Black and brown stories from Black and brown people, LGBT, disabled stories from disabled people, refugees, immigrants. So I really like this this idea of touching on, diverse and inclusive stories. It's great to see more of them in our textbooks. For sure we need that. But I also want to champion this idea that we've been discussing, that we can create them also ourselves. And so that, we're coming to the end now, really is what, Share Your Story, what this project, Share Your Story with Confidence, is all about. Encouraging and inspiring teachers to write and share their own stories. I mean, there are personal benefits. It can be pleasurable, it could be therapeutic, it could be something to be proud of, but in a practical sense, you can also use it in your classrooms. Finally, I've got to do a little bit of promotion, self-promotion. I'm developing this idea, getting a creative boost through storytelling. Thanks for the comments. Oh gosh. Getting a creative boost through storytelling, bringing language teachers together. Sorry guys. Bringing language teachers together to discuss, to talk about social topics that we don't tend to talk about, and use them as kind of like a springboard to write our own stories. Yes, somebody does want a story. I'm going to be finishing soon. If you'd like to know more about that, you can check out the details on my website, shareyourstorywithconfidence.com. join the newsletter. I'm going to be sharing some information about that. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to let you guys say your final words.
I'd like to thank you again, Karina. You are amazing. I changed the schedule of my student today to come here. I told Talita I do my best because I became a big fan. I want to have the opportunity to meet more meetings and also learn more from you and the other colleagues here. And amazing, amazing. No words are enough. Thank you very much. Yeah, my mind is like this. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, big time.
I also rescheduled one of my students so I could be here today. Karina is a big friend, but I met you because of one of your workshops. Actually, we were taking a course together, online teaching, and then I learned about your workshop, and then I'm addicted to all the writing experiences, reading experiences, everything. I love to participate. I'm a real fan, guys. I'm not paid to advertise, just for you to know. And maybe I'm biased because she's a dear friend. But before that, I started getting closer to Karina because I could see this different type of work that she does. So every time we get into this experience, we come out a little different, a little bit more creative, more open-minded. So that's something that I really enjoy. Thank you.
So kind.
For me, it was the first time that I've attended your webinars, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do that. It was really helpful because, as I told you earlier, I don't think that I'm very good at writing and creating stories, and how can I help my students with writing? That's my question, and my insecurity as a teacher. So yeah, I think that talking to other colleagues and to you, my partner, it has helped me, and I'm going to keep these notes. So thank you. I'm going to check out this book that you suggested. Seems very interesting. I know some of the authors, of the writers, and I definitely want to check it out. So thank you, everyone.
I need to unmute myself. Thank you so much. Really, really kind. I have one more message. Oh, interesting speaking and writing experience. Thank you. Yeah, glad to meet ELT community, the ELT community. Great. I just appreciate you giving me your time. An hour and a half. It's a lot, but I really appreciate it. I hope that, as I always do, that you learn something new. You have something to take away, not necessarily everything, but you have something to take away and something to use, or at least think about in more depth. And I look forward to reading your stories or hearing your stories in the near future.